Welcome to My Vertical Obsession. I am your host Meghan, and today we are talking about ReelShort's To My Romeo with Love. This stars Caleb Brady as Penny Jones, Christopher Cortico as Mason Brown, Juliet Anderson as Cindy Jones, Kyle Hester as James Brown, and Morgan Fraz as Valerie. This story is about a teenage girl who hides her leukemia diagnosis so she can carry out her wish to play Juliet opposite her best friend in the school play. And this reunites Cayla and Chris in yet another ReelShort series. They were together in the series The Quarterback Next Door, which was really cute, and hopefully I'll be able to do that one at one point. But going into this one, this is one of the last series I kind of broke down with the character deep dive / description before I switched over to just kind of going like overview and thoughts. So this is last one that I do that with. So how it goes for each character, we got Penny, a young girl in love and finally getting to be with the boy she'd loved forever. She jokes to him to not make things weird when they go back to school, only to be the one to do it instead. After she finally got the perfect day with Mason, it all came crashing down by the news she had cancer. Since Mason's mother died of cancer when they were young, she made a promise to not let Mason get hurt again. Penny thought it was best to push him away, even though it killed her to do that. She just couldn't watch him watch someone he loved or cared about die again. She was determined to keep him at arm's length, even though she was bullied and tormented by Valerie. She wasn't going to let that stop her. The one thing she wanted most before she died was to play Juliet to Mason's Romeo. She was going to make that happen no matter what, even if it meant lying to her mom about what was going on at school because her mom wanted to take her out of school. But she was determined to be Juliet. It was something she always wanted to do, and it was the dream they both had. While she put on a brave face and tried to fight this alone, Mason stood by her, giving them both the ability to tell each other the truth and say goodbye. Penny realizing that he wouldn't leave her side no matter what. That even after all she did to push him away and try and get him to not care for her, he still refused to walk away from her. And I love that little tidbit. It just showed how much he cared about her, how much he loved her, and how much he wasn't going to let her face this alone. So on to Mason, we have a young boy who thinks he's finally getting the girl he's always wanted, only to be rejected by her when they got back to school. Unsure of what happened between that summer day and now, but not wanting to believe Penny's story that she loves another. Hoping if he continues to try with Penny, then maybe she'll change her mind or tell him why she's pushing him away. He knows there has to be a reason to why she is doing this. Even when he is finally mad at her, he still can't watch her be bullied. He also can't stay mad at her for long. He is determined to win Penny back no matter how long it takes. And when he finally finds out the truth about the cancer, he stands by her, he loves her, and wants to be with her for however long that may be. While he has to say goodbye to her, she would forever be in his heart. She was his first love and his true love, and he wanted to make sure that her memory was never forgotten and never faded. That is why when he was old and had grandchildren, he would still visit her grave, and why his granddaughter was named after Penny. Which I love that little tidbit at the end. That was a nice way of keeping her memory alive. And now said we go into what I see as the overview of the whole thing, is that the series was a tearjerker. It was beautifully done and so heartbreaking at the same time. The story of two young lovers who are finally getting together only for one to get sick, so she believed pushing him away was better for him than to watch her die like he did with his mother. She wanted nothing more than to have him by her side, but she didn't want him to remember her sick and in the hospital. She wanted him to remember her lively and happy. She knew the only way he would walk away from her if she made him hate her or believe that she loved someone else, as she tried to do. She just underestimated how much he truly cared about her, and he wasn't going to walk away that easy. Even when he was mad at her, he still came to her defense. He loved her and wasn't willing to be without her. When he finally found out the truth, he stood by her and stayed by her side until the end. Even after she was gone, she was never gone from his heart. like I said, as his character, he would visit her grave, and his granddaughter was named after her, and she was always with him. And this was definitely a complete tearjerker. I even wrote it in one of my notes here, pretty sure, somewhere in one of my notes, that this was one of the series that made me like cry the hardest by the end. And there have been no series like that. This one, I was bawling my eyes out by the end of this. And I think it was perfect to have Cayla and Chris in these roles because they really portrayed it very well. And I love them together because, like I said, they had done the quarterback next door, and I absolutely loved that. It was cute, adorable, and just so stinking cute. I know I said cute twice, but it was really good. I like that one. So to see them back together in this and have it be such a heavy and important topic like this, it was really nice. And I thought they did a fantastic job. Like I said, it was right having them as the leads for this because I thought they did fantastic. They really brought their A game, per se, for these roles. So now going into some of the notes I had, was one of them was about the ending, because when I watched it, like as we got closer to the ending, I was like, oh, I wonder how they're going to end this and how it's going to go. And I thought it could have gone one of two ways, both of which did not happen. But I thought maybe it could be. So going into the ideas that I had for this was, could be two ways. One that Penny got better and Penny and Mason got their happy ending. And I know that isn't something that happens in real life. And I was thinking that maybe the fictional world would give it to us, that, oh, she miraculously gets better. Because I know there are shows that do that, especially soap operas. Soap operas do that all the time. Characters dying, suddenly they're miraculously cured and they're on to live another couple of years. So I thought that maybe they might go down that road, that she miraculously gets better, they have their happy ending, but I knew that wasn't true to life. Not always true to life. I know there are times where, yes, some cancers you are in remission and you get better and you don't always succumb to the disease. But the way that they were portraying this with the leukemia, they were portraying it as she was going to die. So that's why my brain was like, oh, well, maybe they're just going to go all fictional route and make her all better. But I'm glad that they didn't do that because, again, like I said, not very true to life. The second way that I thought that they might do this was that when we got the flash forward at the end, after Penny died, and we were seeing Mason, I thought we were going to end up with like Mason kind of dying after living his life and then reuniting with Penny in heaven. And I was kind of thinking that's where this was going, because I thought that, oh, this would be a good way to show that you can reunite with someone you love in the afterlife, that they're waiting for you, and even after all this time, you'll see them again. And I thought that might be a good message that they could share. I had said that I think we all want to believe that one day we will reunite with the lost loved ones. And I thought that could have been a nice moment for both Penny and Mason and for the viewers as well. But then I also said that the true ending was sad as well, to know that Penny was always with them and he would never forget her, that he visited her and continued to honor her with her name. So I did like the ending. I'm not saying that I didn't. I was just, as I was watching it, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, is this how it's going to end? So it kind of just in my head of thoughts of, oh, well, maybe it could have done this, could have done this, or maybe it could have gone this way. But I still do like the ending that they had, and I thought it was sweet and perfect too. And I will point out that even though I'm talking about it, I will say that I was very nervous about talking about this one because I didn't want to kind of say anything wrong or have anything taken wrong because of how important this series was or because of the subject matter. But I still wanted to kind of critique it as a series as well. But I just I had that fear of maybe I wouldn't say the right thing, but also that fear that maybe if I started talking about it, I would start crying again because of how emotional and sad this was. So like I said earlier, this did make me bawl my eyes out. It was so sad. And I think putting some distance between when I watched it and now talking about it kind of helped. So I'm not as overly emotional. But I think if I watched it and then talked about it not too long after, I might have kind of cried because of how emotional this one is. It is so emotional. So that being said, going back into some of my notes of Mason seeing the signs, Penny being sick, and not truly paying attention to them. And then we've got the parents scheming, are the last two notes I had. So when it comes to Mason, I want to believe that he just wanted to believe that Penny was okay, that she wouldn't lie to her. But that being said, he still saw the signs, like when his mother was sick, and she just kept saying, "Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm okay." And I kind of felt that it came off that he was a little clueless about that. So that's why I kind of want to believe that, he was just trying to respect that she's okay. She wants to believe she's okay, that he wants to believe that she's okay and not sick. And not that he's just going, "Oh, you say you're okay? Okay, we'll forget it." So I wanted to see it that way versus the way that it kind of comes across, if that makes sense. Because he's seeing all these signs, seeing all the same things that happened when his mother was sick, because she also died of cancer, and he's seeing this all with Penny, but not really connecting that. So I didn't quite like that factor. So again, going back to how I just kind of want to believe that he was trying to believe that she was okay, that there was nothing wrong, and respect her wishes of being, "Yeah, I'm fine, everything's fine," type of thing. Because I still think he still knew something wasn't right, because Penny was pushing him away and trying to get him to believe that she loved someone else. But of course, once he found out about the cancer, all the signs that he had noticed and all the signs that he had picked up on started to make sense. And last thing I had said was how I was hoping that this was his way of hoping she would open up to him and tell him the truth, that if he went along with her saying she was okay, that maybe eventually she would tell him the truth. And then when it comes to the parents, I love them because they schemed together to put Mason and Penny together. Like, I loved that factor, that little thing that was thrown in, that you find out that Penny's mom, Cindy, talked with Mason's dad, which I lost his name. But yeah, so Penny's mom talked to Mason's dad. She told him about Penny's cancer, and the two schemed together to have Mason live with Penny and her mom, so that way he was close to Penny. Even though the two were kind of fighting and she was pushing him away, it gave him the chance to be around Penny. Even though she didn't want him to know the truth, it still gave him the chance to be around her in the end, be close to her, and that way they could both have that closure, because she knew if Penny didn't get to say goodbye to Mason or was fighting with Mason before her death, she would never forgive herself for not being able to say goodbye to Mason. And if Mason never got to say goodbye to Penny, it would crush him. So they worked together to keep them in each other's orbit, no matter what, even with the little time that Penny still had left. So I really love that about the parents, that they kind of work behind the scenes to keep the two together. And I love it so much. And what I had said was I was glad that she had told Mason's dad that they were able to keep them together, that they weren't apart in the end. And this was something they both needed, whether they admitted it or not. I really, truly adored that factor thrown in there. So A+ to Penny and Penny's mom and Mason's dad. Like I said, this was a very good series. I really enjoyed it. I know it was so emotional and very heartbreaking and tear-jerking. It's definitely hard to watch, but at the same time, it's a beautiful story and beautifully done. And I loved every minute of it, even when I finished it, bawling my eyes out, saying, "I hate this. I hate everything about this." But it was more the fact that she dies at the end and they don't get their happy ending. And that is what is such a heartbreaking story like this. But yeah, it was definitely a great story. And I thought, like I said, Cayla and Chris did a fantastic job portraying Penny and Mason and being in these roles. So I trying to find other words to say, but it's just, they're escaping me. So go into the rating. I know it's not the best, but I did give it a 7.8 out of 10. And that's not to say because there was anything wrong with it. It's just there were a few things that could have been better in my eyes. Like I said, the whole Mason seeing the signs and not really putting it together himself. I feel like they could have done that a little differently. But I still really love this, and I thought it was really good. I would highly recommend it, just as long as you're aware that it will most likely make you cry, just as long as you're aware of that. So this has been To My Romeo with love. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on the series. Did it make you cry just as much as it did me? How would you have liked to see the story end? And also, if you are enjoying this podcast, please be sure to leave a review. I am your host, Megan. This has been my vertical obsession, and until next time.